Hello, this is Business Now, reaching you live from IBrandTV News Studios in Lagos, Nigeria. Coming up, CBN's Monetary Policy Committee raises interest rate to 13%. Nigeria's gross domestic product grows by 3.11% the first quarter of 2022. Governor of the Bank of Ghana says Ghanaians are likely to experience heightened inflation rates for the rest of the year. Russian ruble firms past the dollar for the first time in 4 years. Hello again, and thanks very much for joining us. And here are business stories making headlines this hour. I'm Michael Naz. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has voted unanimously to raise the benchmark interest rate to 13% after over 2 years of expansionary monetary policy. This was disclosed by the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, while reading the communique of the third Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the year on Tuesday, 24th May 2022. The rate, which had been at 11.5% since September 2020 in a bid to spur economic growth from the recession witnessed in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has now been raised by the Apex Bank after inflation rate rises above 16%. Nigeria's gross domestic product grew by 3.11% in the first quarter of 2022. The National Bureau of Statistics disclosed this in its Nigerian Gross Domestic Product Report first quarter 2022, released on Monday. It stated that, quote, Nigeria's gross domestic product grew by 3.11% year-on-year in real terms the first quarter of 2022, showing a sustained positive growth for the sixth consecutive quarter since the recession witnessed in 2020, when negative growth rates were recorded in that's second quarter and third quarter of 2020. The first quarter of 2022 growth rate further represents an improvement in economic performance. The observed trend since fourth quarter 2020 is an indication of a gradual economic stability. According to the report, the first quarter of 2022 growth rate was higher than the 0.51% growth rates recorded in first quarter 2021 by 2.60% points and lower than 3.98% recorded in fourth quarter 2021 by 0.88% points. Nevertheless, quarter-on-quarter real GDP grew at minus 14.66% in first quarter 2022 compared to fourth quarter 2021, reflecting a lower economic activity than the preceding quarter. In the quarter under review, aggregate GDP stood at 45.32 trillion naira in nominal terms. This performance is higher when compared to the first quarter of 2021, which recorded aggregate GDP of 40.01 trillion naira, indicating a year-on-year nominal growth rate of 13.25%. Now, the federal government says it is targeting local refining of over 2.555 billion barrels of crude oil worth over 120 trillion naira in the next 5 years. The Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board, Simbi Wabote, made the disclosure on Monday during an interview with our correspondent on the sidelines, the ongoing Nigerian Content Midstream Downstream Oil and Gas Summit 2022, organized by the board in Lagos. According to him, a combined refining capacity of more than 1.4 million barrels per day is expected from the rehabilitation of the existing 4 national refineries, co-location of new refineries, construction of greenfield refineries, and construction of modular refineries as part of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources refining roadmap in the next 5 years. The refining of 1.4 million barrels per day is approximately 2.555 billion barrels in 5 years. If exported, the 2.55 billion barrels of crude oil could fetch the country about $289 billion or 120 trillion naira in 5 years. The federal government has approved tax reliefs and other incentives for tech startups to harness the potential of this sector. The approval was given by the Federal Executive Council to further harness the country's digital innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem during its meeting following the presentation of a memo by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami. The gesture will enable the implementation of strategies to encourage and support the development of and growth of more innovation-driven enterprises, which have the potential to create millions of additional jobs in the country. This will also help to develop innovative solutions to societal problems and rapidly grow, as well as diversify the economy in line with the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy for a Digital Nigeria. Cashless transactions rose by 44% year-on-year to hit 117.33 trillion naira in the first 4 months of 2022. That's according to data from the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System. From January 2022 to April 2022, 117.33 trillion naira was processed through electronic channels, which is 35.79 trillion naira, more than 81.54 trillion naira that was processed in the corresponding period of 2021. Cashless transactions are monitored on the NIBSS through the Nigeria Instant Payment System and point of sales terminals. In January 2022, 27.22 trillion naira was processed electronically in the nation. This increased to 27.76 trillion naira in February, 32.52 trillion naira in March, and 29.84 trillion naira in April 2022. In January 2021, 18.99 trillion naira was processed electronically. 18.79 trillion naira was processed in February. 22.55 trillion naira was processed in March, and 21.19 trillion naira was processed in April. Electronic channels were used 1.88 trillion times in the first 4 months of 2022, a 44.26% increase from the 1.3 trillion times they were used in the corresponding period of 2021. Recent figures from the NIBSS indicate a gradual shift towards an electronic-driven economy. The Federation Account and Allocation Committee meeting, initially scheduled for last week, will now hold on Tuesday and Wednesday. The chairman of the Finance Commissioners Forum, David Olofu, and the Delta State Commissioner for Finance, Fidelis Tilije, disclosed this on Monday. Olofu, who is also the Benue State Commissioner for Finance, added that the delay in holding the FAAC meeting had affected the activities of many states, including payment of salaries and capital expenditures. The postponement of the meeting, which the ministry said was due to certain circumstances, came a few days after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arrested the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, over an alleged 80 billion naira fraud. Many of the 36 states in Nigeria are on life support, as majority of them cannot survive without the monthly Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, bazaar, which many economic watchers and experts have described as unsustainable. Now, the Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators of Nigeria has described the recent move by the federal government to add a 1 kobo per second tax on phone calls as a bad move. According to it, this is insensitive considering the operating environment of telecom companies. The umbrella body for the telecom companies said, for us at Alton, it is a bad fate on the part of government, and it is badly intended. This is because when we came out that the government should look at our cost of operations and give us room to review tariffs, everybody treated us like an outcast. The federal government is proposing a 1 kobo per second tax on phone calls in the nation to fund free healthcare for the vulnerable group in Nigeria. This translates to a 9% tax on GSM calls if implemented. Now, figures by the National Bureau of Statistics have revealed that real growth of the oil sector was 26.04% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2022, indicating a decrease of 23.83% points relative to the record recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2021. In a report titled Nigeria Gross Domestic Product First Quarter 2022, the NBS said growth decreased by 17.99% points when compared to fourth quarter 2021, which was 8.06%. Quarter on quarter, the oil sector recorded a growth rate of 9.11% in first quarter of 2022. The oil sector contributed 6.63% to the total real GDP in first quarter of 2022, down from the figures recorded in the corresponding period of 2021 and up compared to the preceding quarter, where it contributed 9.25% and 5.19% respectively. According to the report, the nation, the first quarter of 2022, recorded an average daily oil production of 1.49 million barrels per day. The drop in daily production raises further concern amid Nigeria's inability to meet OPEC's target of 1.77 that's barrels per day. Now, still to come, recession fears cast shadow over World Economic Forum. Details of this and more after this break. Stay with us.
The photography business is a very competitive industry. Every year, thousands of talented photo lovers consider turning their passion into a money-making business venture. Especially in a fiercely competitive marketplace like Nigeria, in which it is very easy for anyone to buy a digital camera and call themselves a professional photographer. According to some practitioners, a new photographer who wants a standard studio can start with a budget of 3.5 million naira. However, one can start with a lower budget of about 500,000 to 1 million naira depending on the tools and cost of rent. On the average, the cost of photography equipment is around 294,790 naira. However, the price ranges from around 41,000 naira to as high as 2.46 million naira. Nigeria has a population of over 200 million people with a vibrant movie industry that produces 50 movies per week, generating annual revenue of approximately $590 million from between 2016 and 2021, helping the photography industry as a whole, according to a recent research by the UN.
You're welcome back to watching Business Now on IBrandTV Lagos. Now to Africa's scene. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, has revealed that Ghanaians are likely to experience heightened inflation rates for the rest of the year 2022, but should expect a single-digit inflation in the year 2023. The national inflation rate as at April this year stood at 23.6%, almost triple the central bank's 2022 target of 8%. Exactly a year ago, that is May 2021, the national inflation rate stood at 7.5%. This rate was the lowest recorded in about a decade. Since that record low, inflation has recorded a consistent rise for 11 straight months, climbing all the way to 23.6% in April 2022. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, stated that even though inflationary pressures persist, he expects the rate of increases to taper off. Now, foreign news. The fear of recession is stalking the World Economic Forum in Davos. It has been 2 years since the world's business and political elite have been allowed to attend the summit in person, thanks to COVID. But the reunion has been marred with warnings of dire human consequences of global slowdowns as the war in Ukraine exacerbates rising inflation. Central banks have been raising interest rates to try and dampen the rising cost of living, but many wonder what the knock-on effect of this will be. Our concern is most acute about Europe, including the UK, as a result of our proximity to the Russian energy price shock. Russia's attack on Ukraine has also led to a severe disruption of key food supplies of wheat and sunflower. Prices of the black liquid are down by over 1% at the start of the London session on Tuesday, as concerns over a possible recession and China's COVID-19 curbs outweighed an expectation of tight global supply and a pickup in fuel demand, with the U.S. summer driving season. Now, the global benchmark, the Brent crude futures, is down 1.25%, currently trading $109.50 a barrel. The U.S. benchmark, the West Texas Intermediate crude futures, is also down 1.17%, currently trading at $108.96 a barrel. Brent gained 0.7% on Monday, while WTI settled nearly flat. Investors continued to be concerned about a possible recession. Some of the world's well-heeled flagged the risk of a worldwide recession at the annual Davos Economic Summit, which began on Sunday, May the 22nd. Also weighing on the market is China's COVID-19 restrictions. The Russian ruble strengthened to levels not seen since March 2018 against the dollar on Tuesday, boosted by export-focused companies selling foreign currency to pay taxes and shrugging off all aside easing of capital controls. The ruble has firmed about 30% against the dollar this year, despite a full-scale economic crisis in Russia, making it the world's best-performing currency. At 0.725 GMT, the ruble was 0.7% stronger against the dollar at 57.44 after firming to 56.61 on the Moscow exchange for the first time in more than 4 years. Against the euro, the ruble gained 0.9% to 59.57, hovering near 7-year highs. The currency's strength has raised concerns about the negative impact on Russia's budget revenue from exports. On Monday, Russia cut the proportion of foreign currency revenue that exporters must convert into rubles to 50% from 80%. We'll take a commercial break now. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. Stay with us.